Hi, Lenore here. I'm going to show you how to create an income statement, because that's the next piece, after we have finished our adjusted trial balance. So to make things easier, I'm going to hide these two columns because we don't really need them now. We have our adjusted trial balance. So let me change this name to income statement. The first thing we do is we list all the revenue. So as you can see, I try to create a title and then list the revenue. I can just copy and paste right below it. And that's going to be $28,500. Let's take this border out because we don't need a border. Okay, this is the only revenue. So get into the habit of writing down total revenue. Again, it appears that I have a little bit of trouble. Okay, I'm going to put in my holding line. That indicates that everything above has been added to this line. The next piece are expenses. And again, we have all our expenses listed right here. So I'm going to do a copy paste. Take out all those underlines because it just looks weird. And we just list all the amounts across from all the expenses. Total expenses. Underline. Summation. Adds everything up to that line. So total revenue $28,500, total expenses $14,600. Now we just do the math. Net income, double underline because it's the last grand total type item, equals total revenue less total expenses. So there is your income statement, and we get all the numbers from right here. As you can see, it has a heading. All yours should have a heading. The next piece is the closing entries. So again, we close the red accounts: revenue, expenses, and dividends. So as revenue is a credit balance normally, in order to close it or get that account to zero, we need to debit that account. So here we go. Oh, if I could only spell. And there's the dollar amount. And then the credit goes to retained earnings. We close all these accounts, revenue, expenses, and dividends, into retained earnings. Let me open that up so you can see it. Explanation to close revenue. Now, the second one will be to close all the expenses. And as you can see here, expenses normally have a debit balance. So in order to get them to zero, we're going to credit all of those accounts. Oops. So let's put those in first. I'm just going to do a copy paste to save time. Let's take out all those lines. Dollar amounts are all here. Whoops. They're all credits. We're closing revenue. Oh, excuse me, to close expenses. So what do we do here? What's the debit or the plug? That is also retained earnings. So we just add all these up. And I would suggest adding them up rather than adding them up. Oops, what did I do here? Oh, okay. I did craziness. Adding them up rather than just assuming that's the total, because if there's a mistake, you can catch it. Now, the last piece is to close dividends. Dividends is normally a debit balance, so to close it, we need a credit. The reminder that I gave you is red, so we're going to debit retained earnings. And we're going to credit dividends. So our retained earnings is, our dividends is $3,200. Therefore, our amount that goes to dividends to retained earnings is the same, and I apologize. Let me go over this one more time. To close revenue, we get this from our revenue. We only have one. To close expenses, we get all these from our expenses. And to close dividends, we get the number from our adjusted trial balance. The plug, or the other side of all the closing entries, is retained earnings. So once again, Lenore out.